بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أفضل المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين. بعد. As we said, Nuruddin Zenki succeeds in unifying Shia, and a whole reform happens. And in his era, in his time, people really thrived in this area, right? Whether it's schools, architecture, even they describe beauty, gardens, parks, free services, bathrooms. You know, one thing I didn't describe about the Crusades, and I'll just maybe 5 minutes before we go. How did the Franks compare to the Muslims? How did the Muslims see the Franks, right? Because you know, when we speak about the Crusader Knights, people think chivalry, they're clean. It's not true. So we have reports from people like Osama ibn Munqidh, who lived at the time and was in, you know, Damascus and Aleppo when they had those joint treaties. And he got to see the Franks close. And he describes certain situations about the Franks. So the first thing he describes, first of all, when it comes to cleanliness, right? The Franks, the Crusaders, did not bathe. They did not bathe for a year or two. To the extent, and I'm not joking, they will tell you, we know that a Frankish army is coming before they come from the smell. Literally. I was visiting Spain one time and I saw one of the galleys, you know, those ships, you know, where you have people that row in, right? And you know, they use slaves to put them and, you know, row. And I noticed something, you know, they chained the slave. So you're sitting rowing and you're chained. And I said, wait a minute, he's sitting in this place, he doesn't move. And they said, yeah. The slaves used to sit, eat, drink, go to the bathroom, sleep in the same spot. And then they told me, you can smell a galley ship miles before you see it from the stench of the ship. The result of this was what? Many of the Franks died because of disease. Really, epidemics was like, an epidemic happens, the death toll is times 10. Simply, they have no hygiene whatsoever. Imagine a person who does not bathe for a year. And you know, they even say, you know, French perfumes. You know why French perfumes? They used to hide their stench with perfume. So you smell bad, you don't bathe, you just put perfume so that you compensate for it. It's that, right? Compared to this, when you look to the army of Salahuddeen Al-Ayubi, you find what? And Nuruddin Zenki, they used to have mobile bathrooms. Muslims are clean. We must have ghusl every Friday. You have to have wudu, right? So when you're fighting in the army, there's a mobile bathroom. There is a part of the army that moves. Once you camp, they put on mobile. You go ahead, you shower, you clean yourself, right? So Muslims were clean. And they looked at the Franks as like filthy, literally, right? The second thing that Osama ibn Munqidh described, he said one time they came to the Muslim camp and they said, we need a doctor. See, the Franks, they were not good in science. They believed medicine, chemistry to be witchcrafting. You know, alchemy at that time is like, this is a witch. So if you're studying chemistry, you're burned to death, literally. Doctors is again, it's a Muslim witch, right? But one of them came and said, we have 2 cases. We know that you guys have this medicine thing. Send someone to us. And they sent someone from the Muslim camp, you know, a doctor. The doctor later returned and they asked, what did you see? And the man was like, I just like, said, what did you see? He said, well, the first case, it was a knight that came with an infected wound in his leg. Wound that's infected. And I said, okay, I know what to do. Yes, tathir, you know, like, you know, dealing with the infected wound, and you need to purify it and do whatever. And then all of a sudden, one of their priests, this religious man, came, looked at me and said, what is this witch doing here? I am the follower of Christ, I'm the priest. I can save him. Remove that witch. And he goes to the knight, and then he looked and said, And he said, he asked him one question. Would you like to live with 1 leg or die with 2 legs? And the man said, I'd rather live with 1 leg. He said, okay, here is the cure. A battle axe, please. They get a battle axe. And then he tells one of the soldiers, hit right there. And he said, when he started hitting, the bone marrow split and you splattered everywhere. And they kept hitting, and the man is screaming, and the man bled to death. That was their idea. And they said the second case was even worse. They brought a woman with a skin, basically allergies. You know, like sometimes people are allergic to food, and She had some allergies and, skin stuff. And he said, I know what she's eating, and I need to regulate the diet and give her some things to put, creams and what have you, right? And then the same man comes, this witch is here again? No, 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 I'll treat her. Go away. He looks to the woman. Oh, I see. The devil fell in love with her. I have to cast the devil out. What's the cure? Shave her hair. He ordered, literally, he shaved the hair of the woman. Of course, the woman was so depressed, started eating more, right? And he said the infection spread more. So the man came and said, oh, the devil is in her head. I need to get him out. So what are you going to do? Get me a knife. And he starts cutting a shape of a cross, cutting the skull. Get me some salt, let me put it in her brain so I cast the devil out. And the woman died. So they were very backward, right? Their idea of justice, Usama ibn Munqidh described, he was horrified. Muslims, we had fiqh, jurisprudence, innocent till proven guilty, the laws of Sharia, very lax and, right? So, no. There was, okay, somebody comes with a claim. This man stole from me. Okay, here is our jurisprudence. The truth is heavy, right? So they go to this man. Did you steal? No. Okay, if you're saying the truth, you'll be heavy. So get a container of water. Tie the man's hands behind his back, and tie a rope around him. Throw him in the water. If he's saying the truth is heavy, he'll sink. If he's not saying the truth, he'll float. Literally. And they take the man, and Usama is just like shocked. What kind of thinking is this? And they throw the man, and the man tried his best to sink, but he couldn't, right? So they take him out, you're a liar, and the punishment is blind him. You're a thief. So the Franks, when they came, the Muslims saw them as what? Barbaric, backward, but they had one thing. When it came to war, when it came to battle, when it came to determination, they're highly committed people. They're lions in the battlefield. They have commitment. They're very sincere to the religion. They will spend all their money if their Pope told them to. Right? You know the word ضالين? When we say ولا غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين, right? ضالين is a very interesting word. It means what? Lost. Lost. I can be, and those were those people. They're very sincere believers. What's their problem? Their map is wrong. When you're very sincere and you want to go somewhere and you exert all the effort, but what's the problem? Your ilm. The Pope, what he's telling you, it's wrong. So those were the Franks. Very sincere people, but very ignorant. Terrorism, by the way, same thing. Very sincere people. Wallahi, they want good. But if the ilm is not intact, and you start holding a sword in your hand, you become the most dangerous person ever. Because you have the zealousy and the commitment of religion, but with the ignorance of the days of Jahiliyyah. Very dangerous combination. That's why they were that dangerous, right? Very barbaric, right? Anyway, so we said Nuruddin Zinki was defeated. The Franks are now looking to Egypt. And something happened in Egypt that in the next 30 minutes, inshallah, will change the events of history. So under the Ismailis, we said a lot of turmoil. So one wazir comes to power, right? His name is Shawar. Another wazir succeeds in coming, overthrowing him. But this wazir, Shawar, succeeds in escaping. He runs away. And he runs away and he did something out of the box. He decided to run away and go to Nuruddin Zinki. He's Ismaili, but he goes to Nuruddin Zinki. And then he lays a proposal. He says, listen, I know you're fighting the Franks and you unified Sham. Egypt is a very rich country. And I promise you, if you put me back in power in Egypt, I will give you 1/3 of the wealth of Egypt. And I will help you. You can attack from the north and I'll support you from the south. It's a good combination. And I'll give you 1/3 of our wealth. We will support you. And what do you think Nuruddin Zinki did? Yes, no. What would you do? Who says yes? Okay, who says no? And many people I don't know, right? So Nuruddin Zinki, being a strategist, says it's not a good idea. Why? There is Ismailis, I don't know them. And look, Egypt is far and the Crusaders are in the middle. How will I do this? And Egypt is a huge country. It's extremely dangerous, and I don't know them, right? It was one of his commanders, a man by the name of Asaduddin Shirkuh, one of those people of the Akrad and Hikariya and Rawadiya. You remember Adi ibn Musafir? That if you look at his history and the battles he fought, which I didn't go through, did amazing things in the battles with Nuruddin Zinki, right? He was one of the most feared commanders of Nuruddin Zinki. Very powerful commander, right? So it was Asad ad-Din that came and told Nuruddin what? Listen, no, Egypt is weak. The Franks are going to take it. You know, we can't let this go. We have to go and help. And then he said the following: I'm not going to ask you to send a big army. Send me, but allow me to pick 3,000, only 3,000. But let me pick them. You know what he means? I'll pick the 3,000, the elite force. And I promise you, with 3,000 people only, I'll bring Egypt back. We will succeed in taking Egypt. And he kept at it till Nuruddin Zinki agreed at the end, right? Reluctantly. And Asad ad-Din starts gathering some of the top people, like who? Al-Faqih Isa al-Hikari, notice the name Hikari. Faqih Isa al-Hikari is one of the men that we will see with Salahuddin even. Faqih Isa al-Hikari came from the Nizamiya school. He was a full-fledged faqih. But later he went and served Nuruddin Zinki, become one of the most fiercest of his warriors. And he's a sheikh and a warrior. So the thing about him, he used to wear his helmet and the turban around it. You know, like, so when he was present in an army, it was what you have: a sheikh, a faqih, fighter, right? So he picked him. He picked Shihab ad-Din al-Harimi. He picked like many of the top leaders, Saifuddin al-Mashtub al-Hikari, you know, some of the top people. Another thing interesting that you can see, the way they used to train the new generation. Asad ad-Din insisted his young nephew, right, Yusuf, young man playing around, you know, it's time for him to learn the arts of chivalry, fighting, toughness, you know, manhood. So he asked him, you have to join this campaign. And this young man is like, no, you will, and he insisted, you will come so that you would learn from us, right? So the campaign had some young people for training, and then had those elite forces, if you will. And then the plan was what? The plan was Nuruddin would attack from the north, create a divergence, right? So when he attacks, the Franks will focus what Nuruddin is there, right? And Asad ad-Din will take the 3,000 knights, full gallop, non-stop. They will gallop all the way south and across the Sinai Peninsula of Egypt, right? Non-stop, all the way till Egypt, right? And that's what they did. Nuruddin started attacking, and those 3,000 knights with Shawar, the wazir, started, you know, galloping, and indeed, they surprised the city of Bilbais. This is a very small city in the eastern district of Egypt. They take the city, and before next day happens, all of a sudden, the forces of Asad ad-Din are on the doors of Cairo. They did not have enough time to put a resistance, and Shawar knows people from inside. A battle happens, and subhanAllah, Asad ad-Din wins, and they enter into the city of Cairo. They capture the other wazir. Shawar throws him away, and Shawar comes to power, and it seems Asad ad-Din succeeded. 3,000 knights succeeded in taking Egypt, right? And Asad ad-Din, khalas, we have an agreement, and he goes back to the city of Bilbais and sends to Shawar, okay, our agreement says 1/3 of the wealth of Egypt. What do you think Shawar did at this point? Said, what agreement? You have to leave right now. So Asad ad-Din said, wait a minute, we had an agreement, you're going to help us. And he said, no, you have to leave right now, or else. And Asad ad-Din said, I'm not leaving, I have my forces, I'm staying here, or else, right? It's Asad ad-Din, powerful, right? What do you think Shawar did at this point? What is a very good strategic move from his perspective? He's afraid from Asad ad-Din, top 3,000 soldiers of Nuruddin Zinki. He sends to the Franks immediately. buddy, right? Said, listen, Shawar is, you know, Asad ad-Din is here. He has only 3,000 people, right? If you send your forces right now, he's trapped in the city of Bilbais, and I'll send the Egyptian force, we can get rid of him. And I promise to pay all your campaign expenses. Remember Desert Storm, all expenses paid, come and help us, you know. Everything is paid, and I'll give gifts to you, and this, and the yearly tribute of that, come on. And they did not need any more. It was a golden opportunity. The top leader of Nuruddin with the top 3,000 trapped, and Egypt is there, and if they get rid of him, Egypt is like just across, right? So without hesitation, a huge Frankish army appeared at the city of Bilbais. And Asad ad-Din found himself trapped inside with the armies of Egypt and the armies of the Franks surrounding the city. Right? What did you think he did at this point? You surrender, right? Well, it goes on that he texted Nuruddin Zinki, sent a text message to Nuruddin Zinki. Right? It's true, he sent a text message. They had wireless communication. It's called Pigeon Express. So it's true, right? Pigeons, the Muslims, there's something the Muslims did, but the Franks didn't know that. If you raise pigeons in a certain place and you go any other place and leave them, they'll fly back to the area they were born in. So when a Muslim army moves, they'll take pigeons from Aleppo, pigeons from Damascus, So he had those pigeons. So immediately he wrote a small letter, tied it to the pigeon, let the pigeon fly, reach Damascus, and Nuruddin Zinki got the message. The Shah were betrayed, and we are trapped in the city of Bilbis. And if you were Nuruddin Zinki, what would you do? You might say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, rah, khalas, right? So Nuruddin Zinki starts doing two things. He starts fasting day and night. Daily qiyam and dua. Do not underestimate dua. Do not underestimate spiritual means, right? Fasting. Increase his zakah, increase his prayers, right? And fasting not Monday, every single day, right? And then he commanded everyone, come, we need to attack the Franks at once. We have to relieve Asad-ud-Din. I have to put pressure on them because if they're attacking him here, I need to make them come back. Gathered his forces, launched campaigns. The Franks at this point said, this is a golden opportunity. One, Asad-ud-Din is away with the top 3,000 soldiers. Nuruddin has been defeated before in the Battle of Al-Baqiyah. Now, if we defeat him and we defeat Asad-ud-Din, guess what? Egypt and Sham, we're done. So they gathered all their forces, everybody, right? And in the place called Harib for a showdown. It's time to take Nuruddin Zinki down. And the two forces met by the city of Harib. And it said Nuruddin Zinki spent the whole night praying and making dua and crying to Allah. And subhanallah, of his dua, he used to say, Ya Rabbi, هؤلاء عبادك وهؤلاء عبادك هؤلاء أولياءك وهؤلاء أعدائك فانصر أولياءك على أعدائك. It says, everyone, they're all your ibad. However, those are your awliya. Those are your enemies. Bring victory to the awliya. And then he says, bring victory to the Muslims. Not to Mahmud, Nuruddin Mahmud, who is the dog, Nuruddin Mahmud. He called himself that. That deserves this. Do not let the Muslims down because of anything wrong I did. And he spent the night in Qiyam. Next day, the Battle of Harib happened. It is described again, and I'm going to go quickly. We have details of all those battles. By the way, for those young people who are interested in the techniques of battle and battle, we have books, unfortunately written by non-Muslims, but describes the battle techniques. This is about the Battle of Hattin, right? So we have details, and tomorrow I'll at least for the Battle of Hattin, I'll give you the exact details of what Salahuddin did. It's amazing. But I'll go quickly here. So the Battle of Harib happened, and it ended up with a major victory for Nuruddin Zinki. He captured the leaders of the Franks. When that happened, he sent a letter to Asad-ud-Din in Egypt and sent immediately someone to gallop with some of the flags and stuff. Show this to people. So the news came to Egypt that the Franks have been defeated heavily, right, by the city of Harib, by Nuruddin Zinki, and now Nuruddin might start attacking their cities. At that point, the Frankish army, by the city of Bilbais was like, what should we do? Ibn al-Athir writes something really interesting. He says, and something that's amazing, a city like Bilbais, which is not well fortified, he says that the wall of the city is very short, could resist the army of Egypt and the army for Franks for 2 weeks. 3,000 knights of Nuruddin Zinki resisted the Franks in such a small city and the Egyptians for 2 weeks. What I want you to see, the soldiers are different. I want you to remember the soldiers in the beginning, how they ran away. It's not the leaders. Do you see those soldiers? It's not about Salahuddin. Who are those soldiers? Are the people that made it. They're such look at their steadfastness. They could not take the city. And now Shawar sends a proposal. What is the proposal? He sends to the Franks. He says, well, this is not good for you. Well, Nuruddin is victorious, you need to leave. He sends to Asad-ud-Din, that's not good for you either. You're trapped here. I have a proposal. We'll allow the following. Ceasefire, right? You both leave. The Franks, you leave, rescue your cities, and I'm going to pay you 100,000 dinars for your efforts, right? Asad-ud-Din we will allow you to leave safely. We'll open the gates, you leave, and you save yourself and your army and go out and return back to Nuruddin. And they both agreed. Now, who's winning here? See what Shawar did? Use Nuruddin, get him, neutralize him with the Franks, make a deal, and I'm in power. Right? And they opened the doors of the city of Bilbis. And Asad ad-Din is said, Ibn al-Athir says, he comes, he stands at the door with his sword, and his soldiers are coming out. And some of the Franks came to him, and they asked him a question. And they said, we used to hear a lot about you, but we ask you a question. Aren't you afraid? You're letting your men out, and we have aren't you afraid that we betray, and then we'll fight and we'll kill all of you in the open? The response of Asad ad-Din, he said the following: I wish you do. It was not my idea. My idea was to continue to resist and not to agree. But it's my friends. When I did shura with them, everybody said that we should leave. But in my opinion, we should fight. And I wish you fight us because every one of us will kill 10 of you. And then Nuruddin will come and he will take Egypt too. Right? And that man responds, says, I used to hear about you a lot. And I saw that other soldiers are afraid, so much afraid of you, and I didn't understand why till now. I'm saying this for a reason. Some of us, sometimes when we read history, we find such powerful statements from Khalid ibn al-Walid, Muqdad, and then we go and we say it. And when we say it to other people, they mock us. Why? Because those words, it's not about the words that leave our lips. It's about the heart they come out from. The words of Asad ad-Din coming from the heart of Asad ad-Din, people are really terrified. The same word of Asad ad-Din coming from me, people will laugh. Why? It's not about when we read history, because sometimes we should be this way. Yeah, before saying the same words, be the same person, have the same heart. But you don't want to be the same person and use the same words, people mock us. Literally, they mock at us. Look at those people. Like, they don't even take us seriously. They don't know reverence. Right? So people really revered Asad ad-Din. Right? And indeed, that's what happened. Right? Asad ad-Din returns back to Nuruddin Zenki. Right? And the Franks leave. And Nuruddin is very satisfied. Alhamdulillah. Right? But Asad ad-Din is not happy. He told Nuruddin, Egypt is very weak. And the Franks now realize this. They are going to attack. We can't leave Egypt this way. This person, and he's already making treaties with them, it's terrible, right? We have to take Egypt. And Nuruddin Zenki now is extremely reluctant. No, no, no. Asad ad-Din kept at it for 1 year. Till Nuruddin eventually agrees again. I'll give you 3,000 of the knights like last time. You attack. This time you remove Shawar, take control. Can you do it? And Asad ad-Din assured him, yes, I will. Right? And Nuruddin, same thing happens, right? Nuruddin starts attacking in the north, creating a divergence, right? Asad ad-Din gallops all the way through the deserts of Sinai, but something unexpected happened this time. On the way to Egypt, they meet a sandstorm. Have you ever seen a sandstorm? You can't see your hand, right? And in the desert, it's deadly. You can't do anything, and they lost some of their mounts, right? And that delayed Asad ad-Din. And the news came to Shawar that Asad ad-Din on his way. So he immediately contacted the Franks, right? And they did not need any more invitation, right? So they immediately went from the northern path, right? Al-Arish, and by the coast to avoid any problems in Sinai, right? And they reached the city of Cairo. And then the joint army of the Franks and the Egyptian lay around the city of Cairo, waiting for Asad ad-Din to show up. And they wait and wait. No, Asad ad-Din doesn't show up. What happened? Where is he? Did he go back? He's not showing up. What he did was something really interesting. Asad ad-Din decides to do something because now he realizes it's no surprise, they're expecting him. You cannot, this is strategy, basic strategy. If the opponent expects you, you'll fail. You have to do something out of the box, always. Right? So he decided, what? I'm going to go south, the side of Egypt, and I'm going to cross the Nile River. And then I'm going to go north from the other side and appear at Cairo from the other side of the river, Giza area, and and there is a barrier of the Nile River between me and them. And he appeared on the other side of Cairo, right, and sent a message to Shawar, telling him, look, It's a golden opportunity. I'm from the east, I'm from the west, you're from the east, the Franks are between us. It's a good opportunity. Let's consider joint attack, we'll finish them off. It's a golden opportunity. The response of Shaul. He beheaded the Muslim messenger that delivered that message and sent his head and the letter to the Franks, telling them, look how loyal I am to you. Asad-ud-Din tried this. This is what you are, again, I want you to see what Nur-ad-Din is facing. The state of the Muslims of the time. The people you're trying to free and serve. That's the one that is doing this to you, right? And at that point, Asad-ud-Din realized it's not going to work. So he does what? Again, being mobile, he starts going all the way south. If we are going to fight, let me fight in an area that I choose. And the chase happens. He's going south, and the Franks and the Egyptians going after him. And in a very small place called Al-Babain, you don't need to remember the name, he stops and he seeks counsel. What do you think we should do with his commanders? And many of them said, well, it's not a wise idea to fight in the western area because most likely we're going to be defeated. Right? And where would we go? Let's cross to the eastern side, fight there. If we're defeated, maybe we can reach Nur-ad-Din Zinki. At least we have a hope, right? Some of us. Right? Maybe we shouldn't fight. Then one of the Mamalik of Nur-ad-Din Zinki, and I'm going to comment on this Mamalik at the end, right? Those are people that Nur-ad-Din Zinki stood up and said, whomever is afraid of death should not serve the people like Nur-ad-Din. What do you want? You want to go back to Nur-ad-Din Zinki and tell him, after all what he did, how much he spent on us, how much he honored us, the schools, the free services, you want to tell him, after all this, that we let Egypt fall to the Franks without a fight? That's not acceptable at all, after all what he did for us. And if you're afraid of death, you should have not served Nur-ad-Din at all. And Asad-ud-Din was so happy. And he said, that's exactly what I want to hear. And said, have glad tidings. Victory is near. I have a plan. What is the plan? He said, I know. They will be after me. So he gave his flag, the flag of Asad-ud-Din, to his nephew, Yusuf, the young guy. He said, okay, take my flag, stand in the center. Once they see this flag, they think that that's me, they're going to attack. I want you to appear to be defeated and just withdraw and start running away, and they'll chase you. And we will create a wedge. And I will be on the right side. And Al-Faqih Isa Al-Hikari on the left side. Once we create that wedge, a pincher movement, we'll attack them from behind. And that's exactly what happened. The battle starts, and exactly like what he predicted. The Franks wanted to get rid of him at all costs. The main attack was towards the center. And Yusuf starts retreating, and they're chasing him, and they're thinking, and then a pincher movement happened. And Ibn al-Athir writes, "Min a'jab ma yu'arrakh." That's the way he says. From the most amazing things that I wrote about, that the 3,000 knights of Nur-ad-Din Zinki defeats the joint Egyptian and Franks army in the Battle of Al-Babain. I want you to see, who are those people? You see the difference? It's those soldiers. They're not the regular soldiers. Something is different about them. Their commitment, their level of dedication. Where were they from the beginning? Faqih Isa Al-Hikari, remember the shuyukh we spoke about? Something transformed. We'll speak about this more tomorrow, inshallah. But anyway, so now they're victorious. Now what? Right? So they start immediately retreating Cairo, and the joint army appears in Cairo, trying to defend Cairo. Asad-ud-Din is good. Asad-ud-Din doesn't show up in Cairo. Where do you think he went? Remember, Nur-ad-Din Zinki was in communication with scholars. Remember, we said something? Alexandria had some Sunni scholars remaining. Hafid Salafi, Tahir Abu Auf, Al-Askandarani, great scholars. So there is a Sunni movement in Alexandria. So he knows. So he communicated with the scholars of Alexandria. And they agreed, if you come, we'll open the doors. So he goes to the city of Alexandria. They open the doors of the city and Asad-ud-Din enters the city of Alexandria. And now the Egyptians are like, what happened? This man is a nuisance, right? So they start doing what? Chasing him. Orders the fleet to come from Jerusalem, block Alexandria, right? And now Asad-ud-Din is trapped inside of the city of Alexandria, and they're around him, and he's a hassle. And Asad-ud-Din does something even weirder. He orders, open the gate, takes 300 knights only, and charges towards the Franks. They prepare to meet him. He penetrates the ranks. He does not fight. And what does he do? He's not attempting to fight. He goes all the way south, taking Al-Faqih Isa al-Hikari. What is he doing? Preaching to the Egyptians about what's going on, the Ismailis, the necessity to fight the Franks, and an uprising starts happening in Egypt. He's causing unrest, right? And Shawar now is like, okay, this man is causing a headache, right? And again, Nuruddin, what is he doing in the meantime? Same story like before, attacking the cities all over again and again and again. At this point, what do you think happened next? Negotiations. Shawar say, listen, this is not good. Right? Asad ad-Din, you're trapped in Alexandria. The Franks, you've been defeated, and Nuruddin is attacking. So I'll make a deal. For the Franks, I'm going to pay you 1 million dinar, 1 million, which is a phenomenal amount, right? And I promise you this time, you can leave some of your soldiers inside the city of Cairo. Joint defense agreement, right? And you can return. And we will let Asad ad-Din go free. And he sends the proposal to Asad ad-Din. And the same story happens again, right? They agree. By the way, one thing they told him, leave the people of the city of Alexandria alone, as a part of the agreement. And of course, Shawar takes Alexandria, punishes everybody, right, that supported Asad ad-Din. But anyway, so the agreement happens, the Franks leave, right, and Asad ad-Din leaves, and Shawar is back to power. Here is the third time. What do you think Asad ad-Din did this time? He was very upset, right? And he went to Nuruddin and told him, we can't leave Egypt. And Nuruddin is, that's it, no Egypt anymore, like it's not working, right? But something happened. What he predicted happened. The Franks next year sent to the king of Jerusalem saying, Egypt is so weak, and we have our people in Cairo. Send your troops, and we'll open the gates. And he just received a new batch of knights, those formidable knights coming fresh from Europe, zealous to fight. He said, this is the time. And a huge Frankish army comes and starts marching towards the city of Cairo. They go towards the city of Bilbais. Asad ad-Din is not there. They take the city in one day. Something happened in Bilbais, good and bad. Bad, those zealous knights killed everybody in the city. Every man, woman, and child. Terrible, massacre. But what good about it? The Egyptians realized, we cannot trust those people. If they take Cairo, we're dead. There is no joint treaty, right? So we have to fight. So they decided to defend Cairo, put a resistance. And the Khalifa, the Ismaili Khalifa, the weak Ismaili Khalifa, sends a letter to Nuruddin Zinki with some of flocks of hair from his wives, telling him, those are flocks of hairs of my own wives, asking you to come and rescue them from the fate and what will happen to them if the Franks take Cairo. They are here, and I promise you this time, I'll get rid of Shawar. Nuruddin hearing this, that the Franks are about to take Cairo, the response was what? Calls Asad ad-Din, not 3,000 knights. This time you take the army. Full army at your disposal. Major campaign. We cannot let Egypt fall to the Franks, even if it's risky. And Asad ad-Din takes the army, marches towards the city of Egypt, right? City of Cairo, right? He reaches the city of Cairo. The Franks could not take the city, and they find themselves trapped with now Asad ad-Din with the full army. They're going to be trapped in Egypt, and they realize it, and they decide to retreat. They leave the city of Cairo and go back to where they came from, right? Now, when that happened, it seemed like a victory. And Asad ad-Din enters the city of Cairo and to the Khalifa, and they capture Shawar. And the Ismaili Khalifa himself orders him to be beheaded for all the treasons he did. But now you killed Shawar, like it's done. Who is the new wazir? Asad ad-Din. Asad ad-Din is now the new wazir of Egypt. And now something amazing happens. It seems that Egypt has some form of control from Nuruddin Zinki. Some unity is happening. You have Asad ad-Din here, and you have Nuruddin Zinki. Interestingly enough, 2 months later, Asad ad-Din dies a natural death, not the assassins. And it's amazing. Nobody knows why. Fell sick, he passes away. When he passed away, the Ismaili Khalifa said, what? Good. Who should I assign as the next wazir? I need someone that's weak, someone that I can control, so I can put him under my wing. And he looked to the men with Asad al-Din. Faqih Isa al-Hikari? No. Who's the youngest, most unexperienced? Oh, Yusuf, this young kid, the nephew that will come to the palace. And he invites Yusuf to the palace and tells him, okay, you are the new wazir of Egypt. And he gives him a cloak and he gives him, and he says, here, and I give you a title, you are al-Nasir. And here comes to power al-Nasir, Yusuf ibn Najm al-Din, ibn Shadi, ibn Ayub, known as Salahuddeen Al-Ayubi. That young man, Yusuf, that never wanted to be in power at all, that reluctantly went to Egypt, did not want to go, was chosen by the Ismaili Khalifa for what purpose? You see, يَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ. You just picked Salahuddin with your own hands. The one that's going to destroy the Ismaili, you picked him. Subhanallah, right? And indeed, what he predicted happened. The Muslim leaders started, what is this? No, this is a trap. We cannot work under Yusuf as a kid. And the leaders, what he predicted happened. Right? They started to fight. We don't agree. Yusuf is not the wazir. We pick someone else. It was Al-Faqih Isa al-Hikari, the scholar. He came and he told them it's about unity. It's about sincerity. And there is a hadith, Rahimallahu mri'an, Allah has mercy on a person. When he's in command, he's in command. When you put him in the saqa to feed you serve wherever you're at. Remember Khalid ibn al-Walid? When Umar, he was the leader and Umar let him down and he agreed. It's about what? Sincerity. So he reminded them, it's not about one man. We serve. It's about us as a unit. Serve Yusuf. Do not fall for the trap. That's what he expects. That's why he chose Yusuf. Don't fall for his trap. Stay united. And he kept at it till the whole men agreed and they followed Yusuf, followed Salahuddin Al-Ayubi. Enters into the scene Salahuddin Al-Ayubi as the wazir of Egypt. Right? And now we have something really interesting. You have Nuruddin Zinki and you have Salahuddin in Egypt. For the first time, it seems that Egypt and Sham are united. Nevertheless, maybe we'll stop here. And again, I'll say some of the character of Salahuddin, but I just want to point the challenges that Salahuddin faced. What was the biggest challenge of Salahuddin Al-Ayubi? Egyptians. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say that. I'm Egyptian. And why am I saying this? Because some of us think if Salahuddin comes today, we will fight him and remove him from office. We won't be happy with him. He's going to tell us to do things that we don't like. And we will get back a tyrant to rule us again. Egyptians know what I mean. I don't need to comment further. Anyway, so Salahuddin comes, and why Egypt has been under the Ismailis for over 2 centuries. He realized the army is not with him. The Egyptian army is not with him. The courts are not with him. The Azhar is not with him. The Khalifa is not with him. The people are confused in their creed. Egypt needs major reform. One of the major challenges Salahuddin will face is what? How do I reform this? And this is something we need to discuss in details. How do you take a country for 2 centuries ruined with no economy, nothing at all, and bring them back? And the threat is not only internal. The assassins are not happy with you. The Ismailis are not happy with you. The Franks are not happy with you. There is external threats and there is internal threats. And that's a major challenge that Salahuddin is going to face. Just quickly, and we'll start that next time, the character of Salahuddin, just quickly. Salahuddin is raised by scholars. He's the student of Al-Hafidh ibn Asakir, raised in Damascus, in the schools that Nuruddin Zinki built, right? You saw his training, right? The one difference, he's very much like Nuruddin Zinki. There is one difference between Salahuddin, and I'm saying it quickly, and Nuruddin. Salahuddin, they describe very fierce, courageous, just, but very tender, compassionate, and lenient. He loved the Quran. If you recite the Quran, Salahuddin weeps. He always helped the weak people. And as you will see in all his battles, after he wins, he would stand and see who's defeated and help them out. He had such a gentle and tender heart. He's very extremely kind with his money. His financial advisors used to hide his money away from him because he gives it to anybody. He's walking one day, he sees a young boy reciting Quran. He's so happy with the boy. Who are you? Bring me your father, and I'll spend on you for the rest of your life. Go study Quran. This is Salahuddin Al-Ayubi, right? So the main character of Salahuddin, like Nuruddin, but with compassion and leniency, which you will see, this was a key why people loved Salahuddin Al-Ayubi, and through his reform. And we'll discuss this more, inshallah, next time. Right? Just a quick thing. This is a list, and we'll discuss it more next time. The men around Salahuddin Al-Ayubi. You see, when he came, he didn't come alone. If he came alone, he wouldn't do anything. Those men that came with him, right? The knights and the scholars. Salahuddin was surrounded with knights and scholars that made his mission doable. And some of the names, and maybe I'll mention one and we'll stop here today. So those are some of the leaders of Salahuddin. We said some of the scholars like Al-Hafidh ibn Asakir, we spoke about him today. Some of his personal mentors, the great scholar Ibn Shaddad, the hadith scholar, that accompanied Salahuddin in all the battles and taught him on a daily basis, as we'll see, right? And you can see Al-Qadi Al-Fadil, Qutb al-Din al-Naysaburi, we'll discuss this more. The men, the knights around Salahuddin, right? You have Al-Faqih Isa Al-Hikari, Sayf al-Din Al-Hikari. You have, I have to mention those two and we'll stop here. Mudaffar al-Din Kokbari. That's one of the, Kokbari is blue, I think it's, blue wolf. That's the meaning of it, right? So Mudaffar al-Din Kokbari was married to the sister of Salahuddin. They describe him as a knight, and he was with Salahuddin in the Battle of Hittin, right? One thing I want to mention about this man, like all the other men, he was extremely generous. Not only in building schools, he was so generous. He used to donate 500 dinars every day, right? He was known. It's said in his time, he freed more than 30,000 prisoners of war through his money. You know, people that would get captured by the Franks, he would ransom them, right? One thing that he did, that I want you to remember this, Mawlid, Mawlid al-Nabawi, celebrating the birthday of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When did it start? It started in this time. Who started it? Kokbari. How did it start? It didn't start like this. Mudaffar al-Din Kokbari loved the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam so much. So on the day of the birthday of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would do the following. He would slaughter 1,000 cows, 30,000 chicken. I mean, they describe this, 60,000 yogurts, fruits, and he would lay tables for the whole city. Every single human being in the town, free, top quality food for everybody, honoring the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So people now started, looking forward to Al-Mawlid, right? And now we see Al-Mawlid differently, but this is how it started, right? So those people, Hussein al-Din Lolo, we'll see him next time, the commander of the fleet of Salahuddin Al-Ayubi. This man was so generous. Every day he would donate 10,000 loaves of bread for people, for free, right? So one thing we'll see, the people around Salahuddin, extremely generous, extremely courageous, extremely religious, and very much united on La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. So Salahuddin comes to power faced by challenges from inside and outside. What will happen? Will the Ismailis let him be? Will the assassins let him be? Will the Franks attack Egypt? How does the Battle of Hittin happen? How does Salahuddin recover Jerusalem? Was there any counter-attack after he covered Jerusalem? This is what we find out, inshallah, tomorrow. So inshallah, Jazakumullah khair for being patient. It's time for Dhuhr Salah. So inshallah, 9 a.m. tomorrow till 1 p.m. And I hope, inshallah, that we get to know Salahuddin more tomorrow. Jazakumullah khair for being patient. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.